Hey everybody, it's your old pal Mike here. I hope that you're healthy, happy, and safe. And before you ask, yeah, I've got a lot of Star Trek shirts. That's just how I live my life. The reason I'm in front of you today is because I'm in the middle of a string change and I thought, why not do a video on it? You see, I recently picked up this new Harmony Silhouette, fantastic little guitar. Comes with a bow nut, nitro finish, and some great sounding pickups from the factory. However, it came with 10 to 46 gauge strings out of the box, and I normally go a little bit heavier than that. Right now, I've got the Silhouette set up with a set of Ernie Ball Primo slinkies. This is the 9.5 to 44 gauge. I didn't have a set of proper 10s, but I really don't hear much of a difference between half gauges and the next gauge up. So keep that in mind. We're going a little lighter, but that's what I've got. So, hey. First, we're going to play the guitar with the light strings installed, and then swap over for a set of Ernie Ball Power Slinkies, that's 11 to 48, and see what kind of difference that makes. Few things to note. Number one, I'm going to have to recut the nut to accommodate the thicker strings. That's pretty routine. I may also need to crank the truss rod a little bit to counteract the added tension of heavier strings. Again, pretty routine. I'll also re-intonate the guitar because that's likely to change, but everything else will stay the same. That's pickup height, action, amp settings. Everything else is going to be exactly as it was. Well, without further ado, let's get into it. So hey, what did you think? Could you tell the difference? I sure could. For me, the 9.5s were a little bit bright, a little wiry even. I remember there was a moment when I was listening back to the recording where I could have sworn I had my pickup selector in the middle because I had completely forgotten, having used heavy strings all this time, that when you step down a gauge, you somewhat sacrifice a little bit of that mid-range. Also, they had less bass, which for me doesn't quite work as well. I know that there are a lot of videos right now on the subject of light strings versus heavy strings and that you could be using the wrong set. And I want to let you know that use whatever works best for you. If a lighter string that's easier to play that maybe has a little bit less low end is attractive, then go for it. For me, I definitely need 11s to feel like I'm getting the most out of my guitar, which is kind of what happened with the Harmony. From the moment I installed those 11s, the guitar suddenly sounded the way I wish it always had. You see, with the light strings, I have to admit that I wasn't really vibing with it. I felt like it was lacking. But with the heavier strings, the whole thing tightened up. I feel like there's way more low end. I feel like it's a little darker. The high end is tamed and it's not wiry anymore. It's got kind of a supple high end. It still bites, but the high end even is rounder than it used to be, and I really love that. But I have to say, the biggest change is in feel. When I put those 11s on, all of a sudden I felt like I was right at home. You see, I've got this really heavy right hand pick technique, and while I could get on with the 9.5s, I really had to hold back and be aware of how hard I was strumming lest I pull chords out of tune. Not so with the 11s. The 11s, I could dig into my heart's content and just be me. Now, I know I can't show you this via YouTube, but when I had the 11s on the Silhouette for the first time, it felt like the guitar just woke up. It started resonating wildly with every strum, and I don't know, that kind of excites me. That gets me going. I love when a guitar responds like that. So, what do you think? Are these differences night and day for you, or are these merely variations on a theme, a 5%, a 10% difference? Often, the changes that we make to guitars only amount to a small, subtle difference, but sometimes that difference is all we need. Strings can have an enormous effect on the sound of your guitar, whether it's changing the gauge, changing the alloy, or switching to flat wounds from rounds. There's so many things you can do to personalize your instrument and make it work for you. You shouldn't discount anything out of hand, even string changes. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. And oh yeah, I wasn't lying. I've got tons of these Star Trek shirts. It's going to be a thing. Get used to it. I'll see you in the next one.